fiscally conservatano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Lana Del Rey record, Honeymoon. Lana Del Rey is a California singer who has been at it for a little while now. This is the third full-length album she's dropped since she broke a handful of years ago with that really big YouTube single, Video Games. And the road to her big breakout album was kind of rocky. People clowned her, people dug up her old album, her old stage name, her old face. It was not a good look. She had some kind of rocky live performances as well. And her album didn't really sit well with a lot of the music critics that were so eager to champion her and kind of fuel the fire of her hype leading up to the record. However, at this point, Lana didn't really need the support of these people to keep herself going. She found a much larger, a much more mainstream, a sort of pop-centric audience after some of her singles really went big, collaborated with a myriad of different artists. Now, me personally, I didn't really like Born to Die either, though I will give it to the record. It did have a kind of interesting blend of Baroque pop as well as hip-hop music and kind of this vintage vocal pop style, kind of playing like a little bit of musical aesthetic dress-up, which I suppose is one of the many things I haven't cared for in Lana's music thus far. I also don't really enjoy the trashy lyrics, the kind of lifeless, very just dejected singing, and the constant rehashing of pretty much the same story. Naive girl who's very innocent, but only kind of innocent. She's got a morbid kind of a naughty curiosity meets bad boy. A lot of the same stuff got repeated onto her follow-up album, Ultraviolence, sans a lot of the hip-hop influences, and sort of backed up with some bigger, more extravagant, more expensive-sounding instrumentation. I didn't really care for this one either. So going into her latest full-length album over here, I wasn't really expecting much, especially based off of the singles that teased up to this record. The title track of this thing I thought was all right. I appreciated it as, I guess, an experiment in subtlety for Lana. The instrumentation sounded very nice and very pleasant and sort of dramatic, very old school, again borrowing heavily from that 50s and 60s vocal pop and Baroque pop sound, although I just thought her vocals were just kind of meh. And the track High by the Beach, I was kind of stunned by just how bad this track was. I really think it's one of Lana's worst songs. I mean, the instrumental on this track to me is completely throwaway, and to me shows that the Lana and her producers aren't even trying to keep up the lavish, extravagant aura of instrumentation that surrounds her that keeps her shtick believable in the first place. But I will say, I think that this record has some of Lana's best songs yet on it. She is still very much the same artist for the most part, but she's starting to really woo me a little bit with some of the finer details on this record, which might have a lot to do with her sticking with about 2 producers or so for the duration of this album, whereas on Ultraviolence it was really overloaded with a lot of musical input coming from a lot of different participants, collaborators. The instrumentation on this LP doesn't really feel too synthetic like it did on Born to Die. It doesn't feel overdone like it did on Ultraviolence. It's kind of a happy middle ground. It feels very organic. The acoustic guitars, the strings, the pianos, the drums, they all sound very natural, and Lana blends into the instrumentation really nicely on a lot of the tracks that kick this record off. And the vocals, Lana singing on this thing, there are noticeably less flubs and just kind of weird off-pitch notes and kind of, croaked notes on this record. She seems to be doing a better job of singing as far as just keeping pitch. And there are some moments on this record, like on the track God Knows I Tried, where I would call her singing emotional. And I think there are a lot of tracks on this record that have a good song at the foundation of them. Like, you could apply this song to a lot of different musical contexts and it would still be a good song. Like, there's a good melodic character to some of these tracks, like Music to Watch Boys To. I love the alluring woodwind melody that kicks this track off. It's fantastic. making the track feel so smoky, so eerie, dare I say, sexy. I like the saxophone on the track Art Deco, really nice touch. I like its kind of stuttering melody. The tune at the core of Religion is really nice too, one of Lana's better choruses. You're my religion. And I like the tune at the core of the track 24 as well. Again, some of Lana's best tunes of her career land on this record. However, I wouldn't say the lyrics are amazing. I don't think Lana's turned a new lyrical leaf. There are plenty of trashy lyrical moments on this record, like on the song Freak, which I think is maybe the worst track in the whole bunch here, where, again, not only is Lana just fetishizing the idea of coming out to the West Coast and getting freaky, getting druggy, but also there's some weird vocal embellishments on this track, blah, 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 which did not go over well. And what is that one line? You're stranger than a stranger? Okay. The Lana of the first 4 songs on this record, I actually enjoyed quite a bit, but this record starts to lose me right after these first several tracks. Having said that, I will give High by the Beach a little bit of credit, though. There is an interesting lyrical moment on this track that I missed in my initial listens to the song, where she is saying that just because you're a bad motherfucker, that don't make you a man. And the truth is, I never bought into your bullshit, which totally reverses the whole naive, dumb, just idiot party girl sort of persona that she's put into her music countless times prior to this record. And it's like, whoa, Lana is like capable of singing about other topics and other situations. There are themes of just lust and betrayal on this album, not just, some kind of Little Red Riding Hood type getting lured by the big bad wolf. And I think my final issue with the album, though, is while I think there are some of Lana's best tunes on this album, I think she still has a little ways to go in order to become an entertaining, electrifying, really passionate singer. Because even though I like a lot of the tunes on this record, as the album draws on, Lana's very limited vocal range and emotional range starts to show, especially on the last track on this album, which is a cover of one of my favorite singles of all time, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, where Lana once again has kind of grown very, very cold, to the point where the track's original beauty and original fire and passion is just like nowhere to be found. And Lana isn't really that tightly in sync with her backing instrumentation. It's a super clumsy cover that I just wish did not make the cut. And the instrumental on the interlude of this album kind of feels like some strange new age music being sampled and looped as if I was listening to a vaporwave tune or something. And then Lana comes out of nowhere delivering this T.S. Eliot poem. Are we buying this? Are we buying this? I'm torn on this Lana album. Some of my favorite Lana tracks on here, and some tracks that I really don't care for at all, though I think maybe are slightly more bearable than some of her worst moments on Born to Die. I think this is her most likable project so far, but I just barely like it. I think overall, when I take into account the songs on here that I love and think are great, the tracks toward the back end where she really loses me, the songs in the middle of the record where she gets super trashy and super difficult to tolerate, the Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood cover on here, I mean, these are the lows for me on the record, which kind of balance out a little bit with the highs, of which there are quite a few as well. All in all, I am indifferent on the record overall, but I mean, the tracks that I do think were really good, like 24, like Religion, at least give me a bit of hope for Lana's future, and I think will lead to me feeling maybe just a little less cynical when I do go into listening to a new Lana Del Rey song. I'm feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this record a listen? If you have, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Lana Del Rey, forever.